hello everyone, and welcome to the college football edition of ProLiners Week 11 of the season. I'm John Creighton in Las Vegas, joined by Jeff Sauter, who runs Las Vegas Sports Services and Vegas Oddsmaker. Dancing man, Sean Hess. Sean, is that disco or the Lindy Hop?
That's me, this area right here. Plato's Retreat, back in New York, 1978 in Manhattan. For any of you guys that remember that.
I remember the Charleston, so that was before my time.
That's before, yeah. That's over.
We're going to take a look at some upcoming couple of blockbuster college football games for the weekend, one in the SEC and one in the Big Ten. First, let's talk about some of the things that happened over the college football weekend in Las Vegas. So, Sean, we'll start with you. Actually, the first game of the weekend was Louisville, Florida State. A lot of line movement on that game. Who was moving it and who did pretty well?
I don't know of anybody who had Florida State. I mean, nobody. The line opened 6.5 on the road. It was a Thursday game, so it was a marquee matchup, a lot of TV coverage, and the books were packed. And everybody took Louisville, and we talked about that game last week. And the lowest I saw, it opened 6.5, went down to 3. And I thought it was 21-7 at the half. But anyway, Louisville in the first half looked like they were just going to run away with it. And in the second half line, which not a lot of people bet, but the second half line was Florida State minus 6.5 while they're down 14. So they're getting points for the game. And then, of course, not only did they cover that, but they went ahead and covered the game. I don't know what Louisville was thinking about that last couple of plays where Florida State finally scored the touchdown. But I think the final score was, 42-30, and they easily cover even the 6.5, let alone the 3. But in that second half, I don't know whether Louisville just died, but Florida State just did everything right, and Winston looked like the Heisman Trophy winner that he was last year because he hasn't looked that much this year. But he was solid. That last game, it was just steady second half. Louisville coach lost control of his team, I thought, and they say Louisville quit. I don't think so. I think they got shocked a few times, and they just couldn't recover from it. But got to hand it to Florida State. Nice win for them. Very nice.
It was one of the most exciting double-digit comeback
from behind, on the road. Did it on the road, too. So
yeah, very impressive.
Pretty tough, yeah.
Well, Jeff, do you see any teams out there that are in boom or bust mode right now?
Well, Texas A&M was in a bust mode. What they turned out to be a fraud.
Year.
They had that big game against South Carolina, which now turns out to be not that impressive. Kenny Hill's been suspended for 2 games. They were 35-point favorites on Saturday against Louisiana Monroe. They won by 5 points, and that's why this week when we give out our best bets, it's not going to be one of the games we do on the show here. I'm going to take Auburn. Auburn minus the points. They're 3-touchdown favorites. I think Auburn's going to destroy Texas A&M this week, but A&M's really going down the tubes, and that would be probably the big story here as far as from comparing from the beginning of the season to now, John.
Quite a surprise, yeah. One of the teams we talked about last week was Florida, and Will Muskamp was saying we're developing a bunker mentality, and I wondered if things were going to get out of hand. Well, the opposite happened. They really stood up and beat the heck out of number 11 Georgia, 38-20.
Ambushed them.
They certainly did, yeah. And here's a team now. Really, everything changed in 1 week from that attitude. Now they're 4-3, only 4 games left. You got winnable games against Vandy and Eastern Kentucky. In fact, they're already a 2-touchdown favorite at Vandy this weekend. So I got to believe the mentality has definitely changed, a much better atmosphere for the Gators. Another SEC team that I'm keeping an eye on is Mississippi State. Number 1 in the country, undefeated. They're not under anybody's radar. On the other hand, I wonder if the pressure is getting to them. 0-2 against the spread. The last 2 weeks, they were 14 and 10.5-point favorites. Beat Kentucky 45-31, gave up a lot of points. And then the Saturday's game against Arkansas only scored 17 points. In fact, they allowed 401 yards to Arkansas, and the offense had 3 turnovers. I mean, got the whole scrutiny there. The whole country's watching you. I wonder if the pressure, which hasn't been on a school like that in quite a while, this late in the season, could get to them. That's something worth watching. All right, before we get to a couple of big games going this weekend, let's tell you what we have going on. Jeff, you hit another NFL blockbuster, your top release. That's now 14-4 going back to last September, and that game was on the Philadelphia Eagles. In fact, both you guys had the Eagles. Sean, that was one of your plays, wasn't it?
Yep. It's a good play.
I didn't realize you were a Mark Sanchez fan.
Well, I actually didn't know he was going to. I actually didn't know he was on the Eagles thing.
Neither did the coaching staff.
Yeah, well.
Well, Jeff, what do you have coming up for this weekend?
It was a great week all around at LSS. Not only did Mark Sanchez come through for me, I had a 3-1 day in the NFL on Sunday, 4-2 on Saturday in college football at LVSS. I won 2 out of 3 in my 3-game college package at GymFights.com. And I won my best bet here on the show last week, Auburn, which was won them by an inch. It was a
But
terrible,
it counts.
terrible way
counts.
for Ole Miss to lose. It was just like Von Treadwell breaks his leg, but it's just but that's just the way it goes. And I also got off to a great start in the NBA. I won my first seven NBA games, a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I was 7-0 in the NBA. Cooled off a little since that, but I'm still doing great there in the NBA. You're going to get, I'm still going to offer that same deal I had last week. You're going to get 2 weeks of NBA for just $10. Plus, go to jimfeist.com and you're going to get another 3-game package in college football. And also call LBSS 1-866-575-8916. You're going to get college football. You can sign up for the weeks, month, season, all sports. It's called LVSS, 1-866-575-8916.
That's right, and Jeff has free plays daily. Just call that number anytime you get a free play from him. Okay, Jim Feist is off a 6-2 NFL Sunday. Had a late-breaking info play. Well, that turned out to be the Miami Dolphins' 37-0 rout. And he didn't put up a high roller online play a week ago, but he did on Sunday. Came back with a high roller total. That was the Ravens Steelers over the total. Very easy 43-24 final. That's now a perfect 4-0 run. He has another one available for Sunday at jimfeist.com. All right, guys, let's get into a couple of college football games going this weekend. We're going to start in the SEC. Alabama at LSU. Quite a showdown here. Early number, Bama opened 6, up to 6.5 in some places. Looks like perfect weather down there in Baton Rouge. And it's an SEC showdown. Bama has had 2 weeks to prepare. These teams met a year ago. Alabama was number 1. They rolled 38-17 as a 2-touchdown favorite. In fact, the stat that really stands out is they had a 4-1 edge in rushing yards, and that was pretty much the difference. Here's this Bama team 7-1 straight up. They're not covering numbers. 2-6 against the spread. In fact, they're on a 2-9-1 spread run. And there's really nothing wrong with the offense. The senior quarterback in Blake Sims, 15 touchdowns and 2 picks. Tremendous balance on offense with some NFL talent in the backfield. And the defense, as usual, now they're number 2 in the country in points allowed, 14 points per game. But they are 0-5 against the spread the last 5 road games. So, Sean, is that a red flag for Bama to be a road favorite?
Well, first of all, looking at the selection committee, what they're going to do, in my opinion, this is real simple. If Bama wins out, if they win out, they will probably go to the Rose Bowl, and in my opinion, they'll play Oregon. And then in Florida State, assuming TCU wins out, Florida State be the number 1 seed, and TCU be the number 4 seed, and they'll play that game in the Sugar Bowl. Both of those games will be on the 1st of January. And you put out a whole lot of information here about this Bama-LSU game, which is right. Yeah, Bama 7-1 straight up, but just 2-5 against the bookie. They've been a money burner. They win games, but they don't cover any numbers. They're 0-4 against the number away from the house. They haven't covered on the road yet. And they failed to cover by 9 points a game, so it's not like they're even giving the better a chance. Bama has won 2 straight against versus LSU, but they're 0-2 against the number in those games at LSU the last 2 years. Average line for Alabama, we talked about this, a favorite of 19. They're just minus 6.5 here, so there's a lot of semi-line value here. LSU, 7-2 straight up, 5-2-2 against the bookie. And they've won and covered 3 straight. They're coming off a bye. Huge upset win at home, as you mentioned, against Ole Miss. That was 10-7. And like I said, it's real simple for me. Bama wins every game the rest of the way. They got to play Mississippi State, but they're going to be double digits over Mississippi State. And they play in that Rose Bowl. This is a tight game, in my opinion. Somebody will turn the ball over. I actually have Alabama winning this game by 1. So there's overtime possibilities here. And LSU has only been a home dog 3 times in the last 4 years, and they covered all 3 of them, 1, 2 of them straight up. So it's a little tough for me to go against that. So for me, I'm going to take the plus 6.5 points at LSU. And like I said, this game has got the very strong possibility it might even go overtime.
Okay, so you're looking for a nail-biter all the way. This LSU team, unlike Bama, they've been winning and covering 7-2 straight up, 6-2-1 against the spread. In fact, they're 6-1 ATS at home. The thing about this Tiger team, though, they're not balanced on offense like Bama is. Good offensive numbers as far as rushing and points, but this quarterback situation, sophomore quarterback Anthony Jennings, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, just 50% completion percentage, and that's why this team is 101st in the country in passing. So it's a type of game that situationally, as far as matchups are concerned, Bama can come in and just focus on the run and then force the kid to pass. On the other hand, this defense of LSU, 4th in the country in points allowed, 15.9. So, I mean, Jeff, does Les Miles have enough offense to keep pace here?
Yeah, Anthony Jennings is definitely a work in progress, but they do have 4 running backs, all averaging at least 5 yards per carry. And I agree with Sean. I think it's going to go down the wire. Last year, Bama won 38-17, but the 3 years before that, they're just 1-2 straight up, 0-3 against the spread versus the Tigers. The offense has really come a strong last 2 games. They've outscored A&M and Texas by a combined score of 93-20. The Tigers averaging 5.1 yards per carry, allowing only 2.7. Amari Cooper is on pace to break Julio Jones' school record for receptions and yardage. As you said, Blake Sims completed 66% of his passes, 15 TDs, just 3 picks. LSU's defense has had a couple bad games there against Miss-State and Auburn, but they're still 4th in the country in scoring defense, 15.9, and they're 15th in total yards allowed. This is also the last home game of the season for LSU, even though it's only the first week of November. But it's interesting. Courtesy of the Birmingham News, Alabama's been favored 63 times in a row. The last time they were not favored was a 2009 SEC championship game against Florida, and they won that game. I just thought I'd throw it out. I thought it was an interesting stat there. But I think 6 points there. I'm going to grab the points there with LSU. I think it's going to be a very close game.
Well, the road team is 13-5-1 against the spread when these teams meet. I'm going to take a look at the total, and that would be more field goals here than touchdowns. You've got 2 of the top 4 countries in the nation as far as points allowed, and it'll be both teams will try and establish the run. Very physical defenses. And LSU is 6-1 under the total after a victory. And when these teams play, 4-1 under the total the last 5 meetings. And when they play here at LSU, 5-2 under the total. So I'm going to look for a defensive game